Welcome back. Mushroom Man Toad here. This isn't an entity trick. This isn't a fancy editing trick. You're looking at a circle. But not only is it a circle, it's a sphere being rendered in Minecraft. And that's why you're here, isn't it? You want to know how to make complex shapes like spheres render in your game. If that's you, then you've come to the right place. In this video, I'll be showing you how in Minecraft modding you can very easily create awesome looking blocks and items that look like spheres. As you can see, it's also in my inventory. And if I hold it, yeah, I'm holding a sphere. This actually exists. So I'm going to hop into the code and show you how it's done. I'm also going to just insert this black screen message here in post. If you're working with this, I'm already assuming that you know how to add in a basic block. Like, there's nothing special about the block class that's used for this. You can use any block class you have, provided it's able to render, like, custom models. I'm assuming you, like, know how to, like, make it so that glass doesn't let you X-ray and stuff, okay? Make a class that does that, and that's about all you're going to need to work with custom models. There's nothing special in the class that says use this special file path or anything. Just make what you normally use for a block model like that, and use that for this. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is create for yourself a custom model. I use the program Blender. That's my choice program. It's the one I like to use. You can use any modeling software you want as long as it allows you to export in .obj. That's the format that Forge will read from, is a .obj format. So what you're going to want to do is create your shape, and I'd recommend you merge them all into one shape and reset the location, rotation, and scale to 0. And in order to get it to actually appear correctly in game, and I'm going to have to switch this over to solid mode so I can just look at it. You're going to have to move it over. X should be set to 0.5 and Y should be set to negative 0.5. And Z should be, so the bottom of your block is on this plane. And that is how you want, like this is the bottom, this plane is the bottom of your block. This is where the block is sitting. And then the block should be 0.5 this way, 0.5 that way, and that should be the center of your block. So that is why I've moved it off center, is so that it actually renders in the middle of the block in game, as you saw in the earlier clip. You can go back and look at it if you want to. But yeah, this isn't a modeling tutorial. I'm not going to be showing you how to model, but basically, to just summarize quick, you're going to want to go into edit mode. You're going to want to hit Smart UV Project, just hit OK, and you should be able to come over here, look at UV Image Editor. You'll see something that looks like this if you're working with the sphere. It'll look like whatever shape you have, but unwrapped like this. And you can export this image or whatever you need to do. Go edit it in an image editor, and then go over here to a node editor, make an image texture, run it into the diffuse, and then into the material output. And then, of course, you're going to just want to put your image texture there. And if you check over here to see if it worked or not, just go to texture mode and you'll see the texture I created does work. I've just used an orange noise map that, again, you saw in game. So yeah, it just looks like that. So yeah, once you've got that, you know, save your file, reset the location, rotation, and scale. That's like kind of important. And what you're going to want to do is go to export as a wavefront or a .obj file. And I'm just going to do this one here from scratch, just so you can see. I'm going to export it. And it will come with this material file. So like this material file will be created when you export it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into your file here. So wherever you're developing your mod, you know, source, main, resources, assets, name of your mod, models, and then block. And that's where you're going to want to save this. And so I'm just going to save it here as sphere.obj. And it will also come with a new material file. So if I hop over into Eclipse quickly, so here we are in Eclipse. You can see I am on sphere.material, and you can just find that over on your sidebar just by going down to where you saved it at, which should be in, you know, your assets.mod name, models, block, and then the name of your model. And if I just hop over here, what you're going to want to do is type map_KD space, and then this is how you're going to tell it what texture to use. So you're going to want to save your texture somewhere. I would recommend even making a separate folder in your blocks textures folder, or wherever you want to put the texture, which for me is useless add-on. You need to call that whatever your mod ID is. And then you're just going to go blocks / and again, this is wherever your texture is saved to. So I'm in the blocks folder, and then just the name of the texture, which for me is sphere. So I just created a 1024 by 1024 image of an orange noise texture. So yeah, you just want to type it out like that. That'll tell the game what texture you want to use. Now, of course, we're going to have to do a whole bunch of complicated stuff in the code, right? Like, there's going to be all kinds of stuff to tell the game that, wow, we've got a sphere, and we want it to render like this, and in your client proxy, in your pre-init method, just add that. objloader.instance.addDomain reference.modID, and that mod ID is just, your mod may be set up differently from mine. I have a reference class that just has a whole bunch of stuff in it about my mod. And so that I would assume you have something similar to that. So just find whatever your mod ID is, which would be the one that looks like that. And that is literally all the code you need, other than a block model class that has a bunch of methods in it that basically tells the block how to render and that it's a complex model so you don't get a bunch of glitchy looking things. And this class is actually kind of incomplete. I know there's something wrong with how it's rendering, but I haven't found it. But yeah, if you don't render it right, it'll end up looking something like this in game, where you can see through the bottom of it and you've got a little x-ray thing going on. Nobody wants that. So yeah, make sure you get that rendering part right. So you're going to need that class. The last thing you're going to need is a block state. This is how you're going to tell the game how to render it. So you've probably worked with block states before if you've ever worked with blocks before. So I'm here, I'm going to go into block states, and I'm going to create a block state, and I'm going to call it sphere, because that's what I've called the block in game. Alright, so here we are inside of that sphere class, and you're going to see there's a whole lot of text in here. In fact, I don't even think you can see it all. No, you can't. You can't even see it all. There you go. Now you can see this text in its full glory. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Now, I know it looks really, really complicated. It's not. And there's going to be a copy paste for this in the description. Goodness, I don't want you to have to type all this out by hand. That was not fun to try to get this to JSON format and all of that. Basically, this is super simple. Forge marker 1. As far as I'm aware, that just means you're going to be using a complex model. Then we've got our defaults, and this is the line that's like super important. You're going to say model, and then useless add-on, sphere.obj. Remember, we put that in our blocks folder? You're going to need to put it in your blocks folder. I kind of don't know if I emphasized that enough earlier. You will need to put this in your blocks folder specifically. Then beneath this is all of the rendering information for the item in the hand, or in inventories as an item, basically. So a dropped item, all that information, what it looks like if you're in first person and looking at it, what it looks like if you're in third person and looking at it, in the different hands, and, GUI, all of that. So GUI is just when it's in an inventory, etc. So yeah, what you're going to basically want to do is mess with translation a bit, just so that it actually looks like it's right in your hand. Like, you don't want it to be, like, way off or floating in the air beneath the player or something. You want it to be rendering in the hand, which I'll show you again here at the end. Mine does. And scale, you'll probably have to scale down your model a lot. I had to scale it in half just to make it look any good as an item. Otherwise, it was just, like, huge. Like, the player was completely engulfed by the sphere. So, yeah, you don't want that. So just make sure you're able to scale it down. Now, to actually scale the block itself, you can't do that from here. You'll actually have to rescale the model itself, but that's not too hard if you know how to work with a decent modeling software. And yeah, that's literally it to adding this. There are a couple of lines in the file here that the game doesn't need. For example, ilum, it's not going to need NIKE, KS, and NS. You can delete those. It's not going to cause a problem if they're there, but Forge doesn't use them, so it does take up a little extra space. I guess if you're super, super concerned about that, you might want to consider removing those lines. And then also in the OBJ file there, just to cover everything, if we hop over to the OBJ file and you scroll down through all the V's and the VT's and the VN's, right above F, once you get down to F, you'll see this one that says S. It doesn't use that, so delete the line that says S. But that's literally all you need. But again, it's not going to break anything if it's there, and that, as you'll see here in just a second, is how you render a complex model. Like, I just recreated this, so this isn't some, trickery. This is actually the block. Now, as you can see, the hitbox is off and stuff, so you'd have to mess with that a bit. But as you can see, it's working. It does still have that glitchy behavior because I've got a bad model file, but again, if you've worked with much of rendering at all, you'll know how to fix that. I just gotta mess with it a bit, get it working. But yeah, that is how you render a sphere in Minecraft. And you can do this with any shape, too, that your modeling software supports, which is, I mean, it's all of them. Also, you see in my hand how it looks there, too, because I did my block state file. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something about how to make spheres in Minecraft without using some armor stand trickery or whatever. Like, this is a legitimate way to make spheres in Minecraft. So I hope you found this useful to you in your projects. I will have a video coming out soon, or else already came out, depending on how I upload, of where I had to use this myself, so why I had to learn how to do this. And the reason this belongs at the start of the video. Now, the reason I wanted to do this was because for my mod I was working on, I wanted to make a shape that just used some triangular bits, you know, parts that came to a point. And there's no way to do that with Minecraft's default rendering system. So it's like, well, I guess I'm learning how to do this Forge complex rendering stuff. And I did. But to figure it out was very difficult. I had to go back to tutorials from 1.10 and figure out how to modify them for my own use. And oh man, it was not fun. I don't want you to have that kind of not fun. So I made this tutorial to hopefully make it easier, to show you what you need to do to make it happen. So thank you for watching. This has been Mushroom Man Toad, and I will see you in the next one.